When we tell our stories and we're okay about being vulnerable,
Yes.
it's going to touch somebody.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
Welcome to Her Journey, presented by Kazukian Media Group.
We believe Her Journey will encourage young women and help them see that life is a journey.
You have to continue to walk in your purpose.
We cannot control how other people respond to us.
As long as you have breath in your body, story does not end. Every day that God grants you, you have an opportunity to rewrite your story.
We believe Her Journey will encourage young women and help them see that life is a journey. Watch Her Journey, hosted by me, Joy Doss, brought to you by the Kazukian Media Group and proudly sponsored by Nike, Black Community Commitment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Her Journey, presented by Kazukian Media Group. I'm your host, Joy Doss, and I have some of the most phenomenal women in Memphis, Tennessee on this show. Today's show will be no different. We have another wonderful, successful lady that you all must hear from, and it is time that the women step into the spotlight. This is our contribution to the solution. We are showing young girls and young women who and what they can be, as well as the many faces and the many paths to success. So join me as we show today's woman of the half hour a little love. And that is a woman that I have always admired and I love to death, Miss Lucy Shaw. I call her Miss Lucy, but Miss Lucy Shaw. She is currently the CEO and founder of Spirit of Service, but she has had a storied career, and I cannot wait to unpack it right here on Her Journey. Welcome, Miss Lucy.
Oh, Joy. It's so good to be with you. You're so beautiful, and I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
And so I sit here and I grin, just looking at you, looking at the girl who's this beautiful woman now.
Thank you. Don't do that. So don't get me emotional now. I'm gonna be emotional. Don't do it.
I'll try not.
But thank you. I really appreciate that. But I also appreciate you. I was telling you off camera that at that age, when I was in high school, or we were in high school, her son and I did not know any women personally. I guess I knew of some female CEOs, but I never knew any women CEOs personally, certainly no Black ones. Mm-hmm. So Black people, Black women that were CEOs of a whole medical institution. So for those who don't know, Miss Lucy was the former CEO of the Med, which is now Regional One Health. So I want to talk about your journey. How did you end up being in healthcare?
I went to Purdue University, and I got a degree in nursing, and I lived in Gary, Indiana. And there came a time when what I really needed to do was come back home. And my Michael, whom you know, was just a year old at the time. And I came home and looked for work. I was a registered nurse, and I went to work at Baptist Hospital. And I think I was the third African-American registered nurse in the institution when they were on union. Mm-hmm. And I was getting a divorce, and I had Michael, and his brother stayed with his dad and in Gary. And at one point, I had 3 jobs. When I came here, I was living with my mom. And of course, you always want to get out of your mom's house. You're just 2 women in the kitchen is difficult.
Yes, it is.
It is. You know this.
I do.
And so anyway, I worked about 3 jobs. And I was a 3 to 11 nurse, charge nurse at Baptist Hospital. during the day, I taught high school. And on the weekends, I worked for a company then known as Homebound Nursing Care. And so I would make house calls to people who were ill. And then at Carver High School, every day I worked from 7 to 3, teaching 7 to 2:15. And so there was a Coach Robert, who would sneak me out the door so I could get to Baptist Hospital in time to be seated for a report at 2:45.
Oh.
And pick up Michael from my mom and get him to the daycare at Baptist Hospital.
Oh, wow.
And then get off at 11:15, get Michael, get home, get enough sleep to be at Carver High School at 7:15.
Wow.
And so I did that for a number of years.
Wow.
And
You're still standing.
and I am still standing.
That's a tough schedule.
It was a very tough schedule. And one day, Joy, I was leaving to make that mad dash from Carver to Baptist. And Coach said to me, he said, have you ever thought about this? Why don't you just get one real job? Just one real job. And it was so funny because he said it, have you ever thought of this? And I thought, I haven't thought of that. and so the next week I went in to see the director of nursing at Baptist. And I said to her, I want a real job. I want one job. And I told her my story. And I said, there's absolutely nothing you have here that I cannot do. I run a classroom with crazy teenagers every day. I can manage anything you have. I want to be a manager. And at that time I was working nights there. And I said, I want to be a manager, but I still want to work evenings. And she said, okay. Because my story resonated with her story.
Okay.
And that's the thing about story. And we're going to talk about that later, I hope, because I have something called Dreamweavers.
Yes.
Master Dreamweavers and Apprentice Dreamweavers in my product line. And when we tell our stories and we're okay about being vulnerable,
Yes.
it's going to touch somebody. And I didn't think she was going to just go, okay. But she did. And then she said to me, but your story is so much like my story. Now, she had never been married, but she came from Louisiana or somewhere down in that area. And she had worked really hard as a first in nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, hey, we got this. You can do this.
That is wonderful to hear. And somebody needs to hear that too. Just ask. Go get your no. The worst they can do is say no. But in this case, a door opened for you.
It did.
Unexpectedly.
And it was just all about being vulnerable but confident at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time I said...
Write that down.
Yeah. By the time I had met the challenge of leaving Gary, Indiana, with a 1-year-old child, and having to leave my other son behind with his father, and that was just, I was broken. I mean, I was shattered. And getting to that point, man, vulnerable was nothing to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, I don't have anything to hide.
Yep.
But I'm about the business of taking care of my children. I'm about the business of being a success. And the thing about being at Baptist was that to be the third African American registered nurse, it was surreal.
Yep.
There.
Yep, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was surreal.
So we're going to take a quick break and we'll get into a little bit of more of your backstory before we come back to the present. Okay. But before we take a break, there's a question that we ask everybody, and that is, when did you know your journey as a Black woman was going to be different than everybody else's? You don't have to answer now. I'll let you think on it.
Oh, I know the answer.
Okay.
Do
Well,
you
we'll
wanna-
get the answer
Okay.
when we come right back. You're watching Her Journey, presented by Kazuki Media Group. We'll be back with that answer and more from Lucy Shaw.